Hello, I'm Lucy Jennings from the Creativity Patch. Come along with me and let's do some happy weaving. What we're going to be learning in this project is how to weave in shapes. So I'll thread my first fabric strip. On this row, at the end, I went over the left warp thread, so I'm going to go under it with my fabric strip. This fabric is pretty much the same brightness on either side, so I don't have to think so much about which side is up. I'm going to leave a few inches hanging on the end here, and you'll see what I'm going to do with it here in just a minute. Pack it down. And now before I weave this back the other way, I'm going to take this end and I'm going to cut it at an angle. If you happen to have more than one tapestry needle, this is a good time to be using two. I'm just going to get my other tapestry needle, thread this fabric strip and through it. I am going to weave back this way as if it was a new row. So I went under on this warp thread on the left, so I'm going to go over it now. And just weave it in. For this weaving, I think I'm going to go for, since I'm going for an earthy look, I think I'm just going to let my ends hang out on the right side. Now I'm going to return with the fabric strip from the right, and on this side, I went over, so now I'm going to go under on the return. As I weave through here, it's exactly like this little bit of fabric strip here because that is going to be overlapping with this one. So what I'm doing here is I'm finishing off this piece so it's not hanging off the edge, and I'm laying this next row of fabric strip right on top of it. And since I'm going for that earthy look, I like the way that it's going to be thicker in some places and thinner in others. And now it's time to start thinking about how we'll weave our first shape. I'm going to stop here. I'm not going to weave any more towards the right, and I'm going to return. Just like always, I went under this warp thread, so I'm going to go over it for the return. Now I'm going to go over this warp thread and return. But I also noticed that my fabric strip is getting down to the end of it. So before I do that, I'm going to cut it at an angle. and then do my return. When I start my new fabric strip, I'm going to cut it at an angle too. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to weave along. I'm going to start about here and just weave on top of that. That way I'm splicing them together. So you can see the splice right here. I'm weaving this one on top of that part of the fabric strip that is ending it. And I'm going to let this one hang down a little too. I think those ends are a little bit too long for me, so I'm just going to trim them off a little bit. And as you work with it, just kind of play with it and think about, oh, how would the land look? How would it look? How would you like your warp threads to show through? As I'm going along, I don't have any special formula. I'm just thinking about how I want my mountain to go. And remember, just have fun with this. Don't be so worried about if it's going to be exactly perfect. Just have fun and go with the flow and see what comes out. You can always do another weaving. I'm just going to weave it in for a couple of warp ends, and then I'm going to bring it down through the back. And I'm just going to leave it there for right now. I want it to be holding itself in place, so I don't want the little end sticking out or anything like that. So I'm just going to let it lay down in the back. Next up is we're going to twine over this shape. See you there. If you'd like to learn more about weaving, subscribe to my channel. And be sure to check out my website, The Creativity Patch. There's lots more things to learn there, and I've got some really fun weaving kits. See you there, and happy weaving!